we're live. What's going on, everybody? I'm Adam. This is Highly Articulated. I just realized that I didn't change my little name tag thing there from the last time I was on here streaming on someone else's channel. You know this is Highly Articulated because you're here. So I don't actually need to have that on here. I wonder if I can edit that on the fly. I can. I'm going to. Because why not? This is professional content creating, or what, I don't know. Welcome. I'm happy to have you guys all here. First, right off the jump, I wanted to mention congratulations to Armies of Ashmore. They have hit their funding goal just this morning. So they've got their funding. There's still some stretch goals, to hit, which I think, with a couple weeks left, I think it's pretty much a lock that they're going to hit them. I'm really looking forward to the unlock at 150,000 for the Ghost Millwick, because transparent figures get me every time. So I'm really hoping that can get unlocked. If you haven't already backed them, if you've been waiting or whatever, now you know that it's going to happen. Now you know that sort of most things are unlocked with the exception of that Ghost Millwick, and then I think another figure, but that unlocks at 200,000. So there's a ways to go on that, but there's now a tier where you can just get comic books. So if you just want to get the comic books, if you just want to get one figure, you can do that. There's some great figures though. Head packs are unlocked, weapons packs unlocked, the blank bucks are available, lots and lots of good stuff. So if you're into dinos, if you're into really cool, really big, bulky action figures that weigh a ton, check out Armies of Ashmore. I say that knowing that most people watching have probably already watched the episode that I did with Matthew and are aware of Armies of Ashmore, and a lot of you have probably already backed as well the Kickstarter. So good for you guys. I think I can speak for Matthew in saying thank you for making this a reality. It's a great project, great people involved. So congrats to them. And hopefully they can hit that 150,000, because I want my translucent dino. Let's be honest, I now want it to hit 150,000 for selfish reasons. I want that translucent dino. Now joining me today, I threw it out there to him last minute, and he's here waiting in the green room. Let me bring him on. Hey, what's going on, my friend?
What's up, Adam? How you doing, bud?
I'm well. Hey, what are your thoughts on dinos? What's the Armies of Ashmore do anything for you?
You know what, man? Honestly, right now, no. It's just another Kickstarter thing. It's they look cool. They look like they'd fit in cool with like Masters of the Universe, or maybe even AWOK. I don't know, like if they scale okay, but I don't know, with dinosaurs and like monkeys and the
whole evolution thing kind of gets a little bit mixed up there. Yeah, I think you're right.
It gets a little murky, but
I think scale wise they'll be good, and I think I haven't read the book, but the figures look fantastic, so that's where I'm at with that. A lot of times I prefer knowing the lore ahead of time, having my sort of characters picked out. But with them, I was just like, these are just cool figures, and these are just like, big brutish dinosaurs that are like bigger than any action figures that I currently have in a 6-inch scale. They're about as tall as like a Mythic Legion's ogre, but they're wider.
Yeah, so those are pretty big boys, pretty thick.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Which shelf will you be clearing out to make room for them?
So off camera, I have a shelf for like misfit toys.
Yeah.
He'll probably end up on that shelf because I'm only getting a couple. And so anything that's sort of a 1 or 2 or 3 kind of thing ends up sort of clustered together. But we'll see. They're going to do more waves too. I mean, they're going to do that one was the Kickstarter, sort of a cost-effective wave, so that they use that same buck across the six figures,
Okay.
7 if they unlock Millwick, and then kind of 7.5 if they unlock the 200K stretch goal. There's a little bit more new tooling for that one, but so it was sort of the cheapest way to get the line going.
Okay.
But they have plans for different size bucks and different shapes and stuff like that. So
yeah, did you jump in on the Kickstarter?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
right away. I even said to Matthew, I'm not a big dino guy, but these figures look fantastic. So
Yeah.
he got me with the figures more so than with like the dinosaur component to it. But yeah, I'm excited for them. And again, I'm all in on AWOK because it's more, my thing. The dinos are less my thing, but in the same way that like Jason from Spero Toys is just an awesome dude, and I just want to support him as much as I can. Matthew is just such a nice guy, just such a generous and sort of caring individual that I really hope he succeeds. It's just one of those things where it's cool to sort of be able to be involved in somebody's passion project, even if it's not, my favorite thing, right? So back to right away. Should I have? I don't know. That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah. That's always the conversation that comes up often, isn't it?
Look, that's the conversation that most of us just never want to have. We just avoid that conversation because the answer is we don't need any of this. We shouldn't be getting any of this. But, so today, what I want to chat a bit about is I heard somebody when there was a conversation about AWOK, somebody kind of said, well, there's so many animal figures. Like, I just don't, and I was like, is there? And it turns out there is. So we're going to go over a few of them just because it piqued my interest. And I sort of, it made me curious because you kind of just don't realize. And if you're like me and you like anthropomorphized animals and, that's kind of your thing, there's never enough. If it doesn't really do anything for you, I can totally now understand where somebody would be coming from, making the argument that there's maybe too many animal figures. So we'll take a look at those. We're also going to take a look at the kind of room. Well, it's not a rumor. Well, or is it? Have they straight up said that they're doing a HasLab? Is the classified HasLab a rumor, or is it at this point?
At this point, I don't think it's a rumor, man. And some of the detectives online have found that the number 24 that they showed at the end of the last one, is a pretty big. But then it starts to scare me. How big is this thing going to be, and how much is it going to cost?
Well, we'll talk about that because that to me is kind of the biggest thing, at least for me, news-wise this week, as a classified collector, as somebody that backed the His Tank. I'm like, I don't feel obligated to back another HasLab, but I mean, I'm not saying I'm not going to. And the rumor, I mean, if the rumor is true, I'm pretty excited because it's a rumor that I've heard before, and it was sort of like when people were going back and forth about what would you like the HasLab to be. That was one that was probably in my top 3 of what I would want to see realistically, right? Like, because there's always going to be people that are like, oh, I want X, Y, and Z, and you're like, okay, well, one's too small, one's too big, and one just doesn't make any sense because it's too obscure or whatever.
Yeah, give me the whale. Where would you put it?
Exactly. It's like, well, I got a garage. I could, I don't need to park in a garage. But anyway, first things first, let's jump into the comments here and say hello to everybody, see what's going on. Payne's Toy Samples is hanging out. Allison Troy is here. Michael Casper, who, respect to Michael Casper, great dude, a very prominent member of the Mythic Legion's Cabal Facebook group, who also has his show on the Cabal, which I will be on June 6th. Legion's Lair. So tune in for that. Only just because you want to see me, not because it's a great show. Michael Casper has been honored by the Armies of Ashmore in having a character named after him, which is a pretty massive thing. So congrats, Mike, on that. Moonshine Mel, which is a name that I don't recognize. So welcome. Glad to have you. Payne's was saying about Armies of Ashmore, I can't afford it anymore. So good.
Yeah, I'm with
Check
you.
my pledge, $560, I think is plenty spent. Yeah, absolutely. Kickstarters are funny, right? Because if somebody really like nails a line that somebody like that kind of fills a niche that somebody's been waiting on, you know, you see people that are like, yeah, I backed the Kickstarter for like $2,000, and I'm like, you what? Like,
but when you
when
you back like 3 or 4, you're starting to look at about that anyways, right? If you're going all in. So
true. And that's, you know, when there's one that just absolutely sort of checks all the boxes and it's you know, the perfect one. I mean, I couldn't afford that even if I wanted to, but good on those people for sure. Payne says lots of manimals. Yeah, not a lot of animals, but we'll get to that. And then Payne again, the HasLab to be revealed in June. I think so. I think that's sort of the consensus at this point, is that Yojo June is when we're going to get the HasLab, but we will get there. Let's get into it. Like I said, the conversation was up on another channel, and they were talking about Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, and you know, they were basically saying, yeah, the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom looks cool, but there's tons of animal lines, and you know, how do I pick the one that suits me best? Is this just a, you know, a trend? Is this something that, like, you know, will animals be cool this year but not cool next year? And I was like,
is this the same stream that you messaged me about previously?
Yeah, it was a great stream. I'm not.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious because
it made me think, because I was like, is there a lot of like animal lines? And I mean, so the reality is, like, then I started thinking about it, and I was like, okay, this is something that a lot of people are doing now. I would make the argument that Animal Warriors of the Kingdom is like only animals, so this isn't like you know, it's not like you know, they've added a figure into a line that's where it sort of doesn't fit or whatever. Yeah. And I'm not saying that any of these examples, you know, they don't fit or whatever. Most of these lines I don't know well enough to sort of say whether something fits or doesn't fit or whatever. And I just pulled, basically just pulled examples from eCollectibles.ca, because that's where I know where to look for stuff. And that's where I knew that there was already a bunch of this stuff on there. So there's probably examples that I don't even know of or haven't sort of thought of. And I didn't include like Ninja Turtles, because right off the jump, like, if you want anthropomorphized animals, technically that's the one that we all kind of grew up on. You know, Thundercats, and then Ninja Turtles, I think, are the two that sort of really stick out as far as that being what they're all about. Figura Obscura. So the Four Horsemen did just release the Sun Wukong Monkey King figure. Awesome figure. To most people, very much out of left field. A lot of people did not see the Monkey King coming from the Four Horsemen. Stunning looking figure. Great figure. He's going to fit in perfectly with Mythic Legions. So, you know, it made sense. This one made sense, and I've ordered one of these. Because I can use the parts. There's enough spare parts that you can basically make two of them. You know, with some Mythic Legion parts, and then some, you know, keep this guy, you know, set up however you want, but you still get an extra head, you get an extra set of feet, there's extra hands. So in theory, with this figure, you can make two monkeys for your Mythic Legions collection, which was a big draw for me, at least. Then looking at this big boy, this is the Zezre combatants. Queso.
It's a badass Minotaur.
It's a big, brutish, badass Minotaur that sort of fits into their sort of gladiator line, kind of Roman inspired, somewhat, historical, somewhat fantastical.
Yeah, they have the black one as well.
They have the black one as well. Yeah.
If you go to 5K Toys, you can get them as a bundle together, and it's like
okay.
$50 deposit.
They're pretty awesome too. And I've heard that the Zezre figures are quite nice in hand.
Yeah.
Do you have any of those?
I do not, man. Okay. It's another line I couldn't get into. I'm still thinking about grabbing the pair of these guys just because they look really cool, and you can mix them up in photos with other stuff too, right?
They're
just big, beastly looking, and they'd probably fit in nicely with AWOK as well.
And I mean that's when you get into this is related to all this, when you get into beasts, right? Humanoid beasts, scale becomes less important in some ways, because if you're a big Minotaur, you could be the same size as a human, you could be a little bit bigger, you could be quite a bit bigger, and because it's less based in reality, I guess, you can kind of get away with kind of fudging the scale a little bit. This is another one that I think a lot of people were pretty excited about. This is the Memory Toys Broken Claw. You can order the brown one or the black one, and then there's a panda bear chase variant
that you get randomly. You don't know if you're getting it or not, which is kind of a bit of a stir in the community. It kind of ruffled some feathers when it came that the chase would just randomly show up, because everybody seems to really like the panda.
Yes. Well, yeah, I mean, yes and no, because what if what you really wanted was the brown bear?
And then you get the panda, and
then you get the panda, and then you're like, I mean,
but in all fairness, it'll probably be worth more, so you'd probably be able to sell it if you really didn't want it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I know, but it's like one of those funny things where I remember the Playmates did that last Ronin figure, but they had a chase variant that was like the black and white one. And I remember people getting it in a Ninja Turtles group and being like, I didn't want this one. I wanted the normal one. And I was like, I mean, that's fair, right? Like if you're somebody that collects specific things, right? Like you want what you ordered. And so the chase variants from that perspective, I'm not a gambling man. I don't like blind boxes. I don't like chase variants.
I don't either, man. I like to see what I'm getting.
I like to get what I order. Otherwise I'm kind of like, I'll hold off. I could just see it though. Somebody selling their panda because they're like, I just wanted the brown one, and now I gotta buy it again. And then that person getting another panda just because that's the way things work for people sometimes.
Murphy's Law.
Yeah, exactly. All you want is the one that anyone can get, but the one that you got is the one that's hard to find. Here's the panda.
It looks so cool though.
It really does.
I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, they all look cool. The black one to me is kind of the least exciting. Personally.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because when I think of a bear, I think of a brown bear. The panda looks really, really cool. But I would like to see a fat panda. You know what I mean? Like I want the panda to be like roly poly, like panda type of panda. Because that's what they look like. I'm sorry, that's what a panda looks like. It's not, it's not a judgment call. That's what pandas look like.
Let's be honest. You have to. Do any of these look how they should in real life?
Yeah, that's how a bear looks, more or less. Actually, my complaint about this figure is the scratches and the sort of bloodiness on his chest.
Okay.
That's like that's the thing about this that sort of didn't inspire me to pick it up. Because again, would scale really, really well with Mythic Legions, would scale really well with a bunch of other lines, especially because you're getting him with the bonus armor. You know, he could get right in there. Mythic Legions, I mean, House of Noble Bear, here's your bear, here's your noble bear. But the sort of scratch marks and the angry head, I wish there was an alternate head that wasn't always angry and that you could get it without sort of the scratch marks. I know that a lot of people like that, though. I like, you know, there's definitely people that want the expressive head, the sort of like in the battle type of figure. You hear the complaint sometimes with figures that don't have an alternate head, where, you know, they don't have enough expression if you're sort of posing them in a you know, in a pitched battle or whatever. So I mean, I guess for lots of people this works. You know, less so for me. But
I can't picture him being docile though. Like, this is how he should look, man.
True enough. I mean, that's the thing, right?
That's guy just sitting there. You'd be like, "Oh, hey, man, what do I
Mhm.
take pictures of? Is he gonna be hugging people? I don't know, man."
Well, and I mean, like this. So this guy, so Fury Planet Veteran William, Maestro Union. The descriptions on some of these figures are wild because I don't know what any of it means. But you know, this guy's got a pretty angry face too. He's got his kind of snarly, growly face. These Fury Planet figures, and they've done a few different ones, but they very much feel like kind of one-offs. They don't all feel like they're it doesn't feel so much like a line as it does like a bunch of individual figures to sort of put into your collection. But this kind of wolf, you know, bounty hunter kind of looking guy looks pretty badass. The fact that you get like tons of accessories and stuff. Why does this not want to load? There we go. You know, you get tons of stuff. He's got a coat, he's got a removable harness, you know, double barrel sawed off shotgun, a different neck for when you take the coat off, you know, legs for when you take the pants off, extra hands, daggers, like, you know, and there you go. You get an alternate face for this. You get a very angry kind of howling face as well. But again, this is a very versatile figure with the extra stuff that you get, because he could be a werewolf. He could be, you know, just a wolf all the time kind of thing, depending on what you want to do. But I mean, all of this is to say that, yeah, there is a lot of animal figures. One more from Fury Planet.
They also did the croc too, right? Like
they did the croc in like 2 or 3 colors. This is Fury Planet as well. This is Blade Master Wang, which is like a badass tiger Blade Master, you know, Asian, I'm gonna say more Chinese inspired, just in terms of the weapons that he gets and the loadout that he gets. But again, you know, alternate angrier head, little less angry head, blades, cape, hat, extra hands, pipe, which I think is a fun accessory.
I can see him fitting in with turtles, man. Like especially the last Ronin. I think he'd look great with like a more realistic. He wouldn't fit in well with the cartoon ones, obviously, but yeah, like even some of the movie turtles. He looks insane. He looks really cool.
Yeah, in 1/12 scale, but I think he scales fairly big as well.
Yeah, probably closer to 110. He's just a big boy, right? These guys.
Yeah. You know what this would go well with is those the spring, summer, fall, winter turtles that aren't turtles.
They're pretty tiny, man. Like I have the Leo.
Yeah.
And he's like 4 inches tall, man.
But I like that. Tiny. I like that because I like the difference in scale. I like that because these feel more like one-offs.
But I feel like he would only go up to his hips, maybe.
You might be right. And that's where I'm a little bit gun shy with a lot of these. Like personally, I kind of let me just pull that down. I like lines. I've said this before. I prefer to kind of fill a shelf with figures that are, you know, in line with each other. Mixing scales, mixing aesthetics, stuff like that. I don't have a problem with it.
Like, he's fantastic, man. Don't get me wrong. He's really good. But you stick him with an AWOK. Sorry, I got pale here in a running position. But
oh wow. Oh yeah. They're really small.
They're pretty tiny, right?
Yeah, so if that tiger's that tall, as tall as
he
Pale,
probably goes up to, like, you know, maybe his like inner thigh, like his mid thigh.
I think right? in that turtle line, I think Splinter's even taller than the turtles though.
And I heard that they're correcting it with these and making the other ones bigger, which, you know, how does that work if this guy doesn't scale properly with the rest, if they're, you know, more 6-inch scale than this guy?
I also heard that they're not scaling all 4 of the turtles the same. Like they're
yeah, that's what I mean.
But well, no, but I mean, like they like even in scale, like they're I heard that they're gonna kind of scale them up a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I've heard that not all 4 turtles were intended to be the same size. Like
they're because they've done that. That's fine. They've done that with other series too, right? Where all the turtles don't match the same height, like they did in the movies or the cartoons, right?
It's I mean, we think of like, you know, the original comic and then the original cartoon. I think most people kind of look at those as the sort of cornerstones for Ninja Turtles. But a lot of different series and sort of spin-off, you know, mini-series and what have you, they've done them differently. You know, a lot of times Raph is like big and bulky and you know, Mikey's smaller and Donnie is skinnier or whatever. So
yeah, they did that with the Batman versus the TMNT. They didn't get released over here. They were only released in the States. I ended up grabbing a few when I was in Vegas, but all the turtles are, you know, different sizes, right? Like you said, like Raph is bigger and beefier. Leo's more slender. They kind of vary in height as well too. And they all have different like sculpting across all 4 turtles.
Which I like. I mean, I like that, you know, the lore changes, you know, depending on where you look too, right? But the idea that all 4 of them are actually different species of turtle. So, you know, by extension, they would all be slightly different size. I like that. I think it adds a little bit more, a little more depth, a little more flavor to the soup, so to speak.
And I mean, in all honesty, what 2 humans are the same anyways? Height, size, weight. It makes sense, right?
It just makes sense. I mean, especially in the black and white original comic, right? Where you're just sort of like, you're pretty sure you know which turtle it is most of the time, but there was also like little continuity errors where they would have different weapons and you just be like, wait, what? It's anyway. Just checking in with the comments again. Mr. Wonderful is listening but driving on my way home from a little weekend getaway. Good for you. Mr. Wonderful is going to be on the Dope Toys YouTube channel tonight, talking about wrestling. I will probably check in, say hello, and check out because wrestling doesn't do anything for me.
I've big time gotten into it recently again since WrestleMania. I started watching it.
Why?
I don't know, man. It's kind of nonsense I can put on in the background and do other stuff, and I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Yeah, it's definitely something where you can kind of like jump into it, jump out, and sort of not really miss too much because they recap everything. And
there's select storylines I'm kind of invested in, and other ones I don't care about, so I can go mess around and do other stuff. But yeah, I don't know.
Paint's Toy Samples is talking about, I think, the bear, saying he's going to put him in AWOK, or it would work well with Mythic Legions as well. Panda and Polar Bear are my favorites. Yeah, I would a Polar Bear too. I think would be really, really cool. And it seems like it's only a matter of time before they would do that, right? Like you've got Black Bear, you've got Brown Bear, you've got the Chase variant Panda. Wouldn't it be awesome if there was like a secret Chase variant Polar Bear and somebody's like, "Oh man, I got one that doesn't have any paint decos," and they're like, "You win."
What is this garbage?
People are weird, man.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Oh no, that's, you got the cool one. You sorry, not sorry, you know. Oh, never mind.
No,
I don't know what I'm talking about. Paint says Polar Bear is Big Bad Toy Store exclusive. My computer is really slow, so I can't bring that comment. Wait, I can try doing it on here. And
there it goes.
Polar Bear is Big Bad Toy Store exclusive. So shows how much I'm paying attention to some of these lines. I didn't even realize that. I also don't really shop on Big Bad Toy Store, so I didn't look there. And Paynes was saying Sun Wukong going with AWOK. I'm going the other way, Paynes. I'm getting Monkey King to go with my Mythic Legions, and then I want to try to like kind of customize an AWOK figure to look like a Monkey King figure, because that's where my head went as soon as I saw the Monkey King. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's somebody out there that's already 3D sculpted and has started printing Monkey King heads that fit AWOK figures. And I think, you know, the line is brand new, so we haven't seen it yet, but I think we're going to start seeing third-party soft goods, third-party accessories, third-party heads, and so on and so forth. So I can't wait for that. I know that my Action Figure Customs is doing some AWOK 3D printed parts, so that's going to be pretty dope. They already showed like a Gatling gun that somebody's designed for sort of AWOK scale. Which
if it has like that, you know, like the gun that they already come with, if it has like that aesthetic, you know what I mean? Like it's not like modern, it's almost like a flintlock pistol, but a little more technologically advanced, kind of, I guess.
Well, so this is, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting conversation, because for people that have kind of only seen the figures and not really gotten into the comic book too far, the like, it seems like blades and, you know, spears and shields should be the weapons, but there's also a lot of technology in there. So there is, like, they seem more like energy weapons than
That's what I was gonna ask you. Are they like laser guns? Because I've only seen what you guys have put, and I read a bit of the first comic that you sent me, but I haven't really sat down and read it yet.
It's more in the way that it's sort of drawn and inked that makes me seem like they're more of an energy weapon than like a you know, a projectile. Not confirmed yet. I mean, I intend to ask Jason that when I get the chance, because that's one of those things where for me it's kind of cooler if it's an energy weapon, because it lends itself a little bit more to the sci-fi aspect. And it seems more, and then it's an even more fun kind of imbalance almost of like tech versus nature, where, you know, if it's an energy weapon, it's like a very high-tech sci-fi weapon where they're, you know, fighting with blades, you know, swords and spears and stuff. Like it really adds sort of a little bit more depth there, a little bit more intrigue into sort of, you know, why do some do some things and others do other things. Issue 4 kind of touches on it, which just came out, which you can go to SperoToys.com and download the digital version for $2, which is a fantastic price for what you're getting, I think, personally.
I just need to go and grab them and read up, because I like the figs. And yeah, is Mike getting the board game? Do you know?
He's gonna. So I talked to Mike about that, and he is gonna get everything that Spero releases. He's he's all in on it, like I am. So he's excited to get it as soon as he can. And eCollectibles.ca will be getting Wave 1 very soon. It is on its way to Canada as we speak. Well, maybe not literally right now, but
and the head packs aren't coming till Wave 2, right?
Correct. Head packs are Wave 2. So Wave 1 is 6 figures plus the weapons packs, and then Wave 2 is some figures plus the Primal Ancients plus the head packs. Wave 3 will be the game, and then basically army builders.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a fantastic wave. I personally, I can't wait for that wave. If you haven't yet, go and pre-order it through SperoToys.com. If you're in Canada, you can wait till Mike gets it. But just maybe message Mike at eCollectibles and let him know sort of what you're thinking about getting, so that he has an idea of numbers. But those should be up for pre-order in June, I think, is what I was told. So stay tuned for that. Wave 1 and Wave 2 available on eCollectibles.ca right now for pre-order. Like I said, Wave 1 arriving soon, Wave 2 soon enough. After waiting as long as I did to get the first wave of figures, it's like, oh, and by the way, the next ones are coming in like a month. And I was like, that's not soon enough. And I'm like, but I did wait, a year and a half to get the Wave 1 or whatever. Payne says more animals in Mythic Legions before I can do that, which is why I voted for Kitty and also. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I really like the animals and the critters in Mythic Legions. And in every line, and that's my thing. That's my jam. So the more furry critters and characters like that, the better for me across all the lines. I would take Mindbender's Science Experiment Gone Wrong. G.I. Joe classified figures. They could release new characters. They're like, this is a Catman, and I'd be like, I'll buy it. I'll take it. I'm down.
Do it. That's what I'm kind of doing with my Death Adder that I got from Mezco. He's kind of a failed experiment of Dr. Mindbender's, right?
I've heard a lot of people doing that. Like I think it's like it suits it, right? Aesthetically, like they fit pretty well. Yeah. And that's again where a Mezco G.I. Joe might not fit in with classified, but a Mezco Death Adder snake-headed man does, because you can kind of blur the lines there a little bit more, I think.
I've seen some comparison shots with the Destro, man. And Destro, I don't know. I think they scale well enough. You can, like, the bodies are a little thicker, obviously, because they have clothing on them. They're just their buck is a little different, but I think I still think it scales and fits in well with other cyclic lines.
Payne, I see your comment about the polar bear, but the Big Bad Toy Store can sell their own toys. No disrespect to you, Payne Toy Samples.
Collectible thing at the bottom of the screen.
It's not even that. I've had the runaround from Big Bad Toy Stores when there's been an item that I did need to get from them because it was kind of the only place I could find it.
Yeah,
they're just always. I won't get into it because I'm not that channel. But I don't. Like I said, I'm not gonna speak ill of Big Bad Toy Stores, but I'm certainly not gonna do their work for them. Payne's Toy Samples says, I ordered the Art of AWOK book. Looking forward to that as well. I did too, and I was asking Jason about it. They're still kind of compiling it because they still have kind of more stuff. There's still more art that's sort of like getting worked out that's maybe either not been revealed or they're still sort of using it or whatever. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm a sucker for lines that I get really into, especially if I get into the lore. I'll get the books, I'll get the maps, I'll get the coins, I'll get the decoders. Because that's the kind of stuff that I feel like if I don't get it, I'll be bummed. Like the figures, I love the figures first and foremost. But having that stuff, that completely useless stuff this is all completely useless stuff. But the stuff that really doesn't necessarily inform your play patterns and stuff like that, I still want it. I still like that stuff. Payne says, at some point I'm going to do the failed Serpentor creature as a custom. Yeah, that would be a good one.
Yeah,
that would be a really good one. That kind of... Wait, isn't that just a Clayface figure? Can you just find a Clayface figure from like a TC line?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, and I have seen people use it for that as well, the McFarlane one.
Yeah, that one that just looks like
the
muck.
McFarlane version of Clayface looks very similar to the failed experiment.
Absolutely. Okay, we're all caught up on comments. Should we move on to the HasLab? Should we talk about the HasLab for a little bit? Let me close some windows, see if my computer will catch up.
You know me, I'm always down to talk about G.I. Joe, man.
Yeah,
that's kind of my coup de grace these days. That's the
when
one.
I was just talking about animal figures, I wasn't going to send you the invite, but then I was like, you know what, I'm going to tack this on, and I think this might work. So, okay, so Hasbro has been basically releasing these kind of cryptic messages, talking about, this spy sent us this information, and, this project is well underway. We need to proceed with this project. And basically all of it's suggesting that, there's a G.I. Joe spy that has infiltrated Cobra, talking about the HISS tank and saying we need to move up, the timeline and get going on our Counter-Strike sort of HISS tank counter weapon. So basically a HasLab. Basically, every indication is pointing towards a June release of a G.I. Joe classified HasLab project. There's been a couple other hints. The biggest one, like you mentioned off the top, the 24 in one of the sort of pictures, referring to a 24 that appears. So a lot of G.I. Joe vehicles, if you're not super familiar with G.I. Joe vehicles, a lot of them have numbers on them, right? The HISS tank has the 788. Like, it's famous that 788, when you see that related to G.I. Joe, without a doubt that that's a HISS tank. And a lot of these vehicles, when in the sticker sheets came with these numbers. So, a lot of them have a number that's kind of loosely associated with them. In one of these pictures, it said, what did it say? Prototype 24.
Yeah.
And the 24 was really big. So it was like, it was very much like, hey, take this and run with it. And that 24 shows up on the I clicked the wrong button. I'm looking at it, but you guys aren't. The 24 shows up on the Dragonfly XH1, the sort of two-person sort of attack helicopter from G.I. Joe, one of the most fun G.I. Joe vehicles that they ever made. If yours still worked and the little thumb tab, you could push it to spin the rotors. Just a really cool design, very much rooted in reality. I'm gonna get this wrong, but I'm gonna guess that it's based on an Apache helicopter. Feel free to correct me in the comments, because I don't know. But I always loved it because it was, pilot and co-pilot. You got a cool loadout. You got the chin gun, you got the missiles on the side, you had the sort of gun on that came out the side as well. So all kinds of great weapons. It also had the hook that came out the bottom, so you could go and sort of pick things up. The I can't remember what it's called, but the tactical battle platform, is that what it's called? There's actually hooks on that so that the Dragonfly could carry that around, which I only found out recently. That those were designed to work together, which is, again, just really, really cool. I really like this as a HasLab project for a whole bunch of reasons, which I will get into. But AI, what are your sort of initial thoughts on this? Do you think it's going to be the Dragonfly?
man, with the little hints that we've got, it makes sense because technically you bring in air support when you're getting bombarded with tanks. That last, little hint was, it was a pretty big hint, man. Like, it's with the little file folder with the number 24 on the corner and a little knife. Like, I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't think it's a surprise that it's this, man. It's got to be at this point. And I'm excited, man. The only thing that scares me is the price. And the size is going to be huge.
Sure.
And it's obviously we'll get Wild Bill, maybe Airborne, who knows. I hope they don't throw Chuckles in, because I think a lot of us are looking forward to him, but they keep throwing, everybody's kind of thinking it is him who's, in behind enemy lines getting all this, information. So it's, I don't know, are they going to throw him in, and, it's going to be people that don't buy into the HasLab, they're going to miss out on Chuckles, where, characters like,
Yeah.
Wild Bill and Airborne make sense. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
If you're not into this, you're not going to grab it. But if you are, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not going to buy two, because I imagine this is probably going to be a pretty expensive HasLab. Like, yeah, man. just for the size, and it holds 2 classified figures, and who knows what it's going to have on it. Like, look at all the extra stuff they threw on the his tank, man. Like,
Mhm.
this is going to be, it's not going to be a little guy, and then it just wouldn't look right. What would be the point?
Mhm. No, I
You know
agree.
what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely. I'm trying to get this to scale so that there's not something moving in the top of the shot, because I'm going to leave it on there while we chat. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what I like about this, from a size perspective, though, and I agree, it's going to be big. It's going to be quite long, but it's not going to be super wide. So
Yeah.
it's like in the same way that Jabba's sail barge is very, very long, but it's not crazy wide. So if you have a decent sized shelf, you can find room for it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about this as well. When people are kind of talking about like, oh, I want a classified plane, I'm like, that footprint is a nightmare. This one I think is a little bit more manageable in that respect, because
Well,
even
that's
though
the
it
thing.
might be 2.5 feet long, jeez, I wonder how long it would be in 6-inch scale. Well, we'll find out soon enough. If it gets, they'll
Well,
tell us, right?
I mean, we got
Um,
Galactus, and you think about the size of him with his headpiece, and he's a big boy, man, and the Sentinel's no shrimp either. So it's, and you have the 3 3/4 scale Sky Striker, right?
yep.
So, and you already know, like, where do you put that? Do you got it hanging from the ceiling? Do you have it sitting on your coffee table? Like, it's a big boy, and that's 3 3/4, right? Yeah, on an angle, but yeah, it's,
On an angle, yeah. But I mean, the dragonfly is roughly that length.
yeah.
And like this in 3 3/4 will fit on one of these shelves, which is not that wide. I think that shelf is 2 feet wide.
Okay.
Um, but I mean, the dragonfly could be 2.5 or 3 feet in a 6-inch scale.
And you can still
Um,
have like figures set up, I imagine, along like the tail piece and
yep,
stuff. So it
yep,
doesn't just, you don't just need to dedicate like the 2 feet of shelf to just this, right?
yeah. That's again because it's a little narrower, right? I think
Yeah.
you can get away with the Sky Striker. Thank goodness they threw that stand in, because if you put that flat on the ground, it's almost as wide as it is long,
Yeah.
really. And especially if you have the wings out, which is why I think, like I said, and I pretty sure I said this before, either on a show, like I said it, or I commented, when I was sort of watching somebody discuss potential HasLabs. The shape of this, I think, is good.
Yeah.
Because I think it lends itself to that scale where it's not a huge footprint. The Millennium Falcon's another good example. Like, it doesn't matter what angle you put a Millennium Falcon at, it's a big disc. It does it. There's no angle that makes it fit on a shelf, no matter how hard you try. I have a shelf, right over there, that I'm almost positive would fit a dragonfly, which is
Well,
lucky for me, but.
As you can see, I've kind of already started to make space for stuff. Mind you, all that's sitting on a table as I'm getting ready because I'm doing a show in a couple of weeks, and I got stuff posted on buy and sell. It's man, selling stuff is hard these days. You gotta hustle.
It's getting harder. Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, especially when you get to the higher end scale stuff, man, it's like one here and there, right? So it's they ain't moving quick, but they're moving. So, but yeah, definitely making some shelf space.
Well, but you bring up an interesting point, and that's, you've mentioned, the thing that you're worried about with the dragonfly is the price, and you've also mentioned that buyer, like, selling is getting harder. Buyers seem to be sort of easing back, whether it's because of the economy, whether it's because they're not getting free money anymore, whatever the reason. I think a lot of people have sort of gone.
Hello.
Bessie's getting dropped here, I
guess. For whatever reason, I think that people aren't buying as much or spending as much. HasLabs. There's been a couple HasLabs that weren't as successful in the last little bit as Hasbro would have liked. The previous two G.I. Joe HasLabs, I think, have been two of the more affordable HasLabs.
Yeah.
The Sky Striker, I think, was $220 or $230, and the Hiss was $3. I mean, depending on sort of what this comes with, like you said, do you think they'll keep that in mind? Do you think that price point will be something that they're a little bit more objective about with this than they have been with, say, the Engine of Vengeance?
I hope they've learned some lessons. And they do make this on the more affordable. See, the thing is they put a price out there and they're hoping that you bite and that you get all the extras, right? But if you don't bite enough, they had a habit in the past of not making the initial thing worth the price that they're asking, right? Like the extras should be bonuses. And however you factor in the price, you know what I mean? It's, I don't know. You gotta, I don't know. It has to be a win-win for everybody where, I think with the Hiss tank, I think they nailed it for a reason, right? And I think it's because we're hungry too, right? Like a lot of us who grew up with G.I. Joes, a lot of it was based on figures and play sets and vehicles. Like that was a lot, there were a lot of cool and individual characters, but a lot of collecting that had to do with the cool stuff that you had with them that you could, interact with. And, I think a lot of us that were into that line when we were kids are really into, getting these vehicles and, we're not sitting on the floor playing with them like we're, 8 years old again, but they do look cool.
Speak for yourself.
But they look cool displayed on the shelf when you're taking photos, when you're, you know what I mean? Like it adds a lot and it makes it, just kind of your collection a little more dynamic than just a bunch of tiny figures on the shelf.
Agreed.
Right?
I'm of the opinion that I don't need every vehicle and playset, right? Like we got the Hiss. Assuming we get this, I'll probably grab one, maybe two, depending on the price. But if this thing is successful as well, I could see them kind of, parlaying that into vehicles sort of priced and sized in between the motorcycles that we've gotten and the HasLab project. So my absolute favorite vehicle in G.I. Joe, and I've said this before, and I said this could have been a HasLab, but it would have been one of those ones where the stretch goals would really have made it the HasLab more so than the vehicle. I think a Vamp, just a simple Vamp with clutch,
But then it wouldn't have to be a HasLab. I don't think a Vamp needs to be a HasLab. Man.
I don't either, and that's what I'm saying.
I think you could find that at retail, right?
Yeah, well, I don't think we would see it at retail, but I could see, fan channel. I could see, like Pulse, and then online retailers, picking it up where you don't have to put it on a shelf necessarily. I don't see that as something that Target or Walmart or Toys R Us would necessarily want because of the space constraints. Because those stores all seem to be moving in the direction of like selling you the big items online and selling you the small stuff in store, which is fine. I mean, it is what it is.
Toys R Us has done it here with the bigger items where they just have the tickets in the front, right? And then they go and pull it out of the stock room for you and bring it out to the counter, right? So that's always a possibility too, right?
The Toys R Us here has the bigger Lego sets that way, which is like the weirdest thing, but it is what it is. But the weird thing is the size of the like board that has the tickets on it would fit all of the sets if they just use that as the shelf space. But I don't know, whatever.
Collection. Are you on the stream?
Yes, I am.
Hi.
Hi.
As far as Chuckles goes, he's been like
I can't.
He's been a name. Has he been name only reveal? Yeah, he's been name only reveal. So we know we're getting Chuckles.
Yeah,
we just don't know how.
Standalone, hopefully.
The rumor was San Diego Comic-Con, I think. But I could see if you did a San Diego Comic-Con and like a variant in a HasLab.
Okay.
So you now have like two Chuckles, two routes to get Chuckles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Adam.
No, that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Hi, everyone. John says Yojo June, so yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, and it's coming up, right? Like they're ramping up these like communiques, which makes sense. We're a couple weeks away from June. They haven't announced when Yojo June is going to be, but I could see them launching it early in June and using June as the month where the HasLab is open, which I think would make sense because they've said that the Star Wars Vintage Collection HasLab is going to be San Diego Comic-Con release, which is July. So to avoid having them, on top of each other, which some have argued kind of backfired last time they did that, it would make sense to do this early in June and give HasLab the sort of G.I. Joe treatment for June, and then it could be the Star Wars stuff for July. But we'll see. I mean, we're just speculating. Payne's Toy Sample says Airborne, Crazy Legs. Yeah, anyone that sort of fits that bill of sort of pilot or paratrooper or whatever. Although, looking at the art, the box art here, the original box art, it was of course Wild Bill with Airborne in the passenger seat there. So, that would make sense because it's kind of a no-brainer, right? It's right there in front of you. It's already on the packaging the first time around. So they could just, redo it the second time around. Jeff Moore's joined us. Ted has joined us. Oz, a little bit late, but still here, as well as Brick. Brick said, "Oh, missed the animal talk. Rewinding. He'll catch up. Watch it in 1.5 speed or whatever. You'll be fine." Oz says that's how they used to do the video games back in the day. Yeah, the sort of pre-sale with the little paper ticket that you take it up to the front and say, "I want this thing," and they say, "Oh, we didn't realize there was that many tickets. We're sold out, and you're out of luck, you suckers." Brick, going back, just speaking my language, Memory Toys and Fury Planet Talk. 33 Toys was selling the Panda version directly. That's interesting. So I guess if you really wanted the Panda, it's out there. You could pick up the Panda. And honestly, I think I didn't mention this when we were chatting about it before, but the Panda, I think it's a no-brainer for them to offer at a future date. You're saying that they're selling it direct, but I think at a future date you could probably pick it up. Or going forward, retailers might get to the point where they're like, "Hey, we opened all the boxes and now we know how many Pandas we have. And Brick saying there was an upcharge for the Panda. Yeah, and I could see retailers doing that too. A lot of retailers had the that chase, the black and white Playmates Last Ronin Ninja Turtle was an upcharge from the standard, but they listed it.
And I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, you're like aftermarket, you're going to end up paying more now. So I'd rather pay an extra 5, 10, whatever, now to get it if I really want it that bad.
Yep. That's my habit too. If it's a few bucks more now, but I can get it now, I'll save myself the trouble. I'll save myself the headache. I'll save myself all the angry, nasty, sad comments and just order it and be done with it. Allison Troy, Chuckles was my absolute favorite Joe. There was a love triangle with him, Jinx, and Xandar. I'm pretty sure him and Xandar would have ended up together.
Man, I hope we get a Jinx soon. I know she's just a red ninja, but I don't know. I always liked her when I was a kid.
Yeah, and I mean, we've got Falcon, we got Tunnel Rat on the way. They've announced Chuckles.
Yeah.
You got to think, to round out the sort of movie characters. Jinx is a no-brainer
with a maskless head sculpt
with a blindfolded.
Yeah,
I would love 3 head sculpts. I would love or they could do 2, right? They could do the 2 movie versions, the unmasked and then the blindfold, and then they could do a retro carded one with the masked.
Yeah.
So that's where when they do the retro carded stuff, I think they could do a little bit more to make them retro carded, like with the exception of Snake Eyes, which was a totally different figure from any version of Snake Eyes that we've gotten. Not just a repaint.
And arguably my favorite.
Right? Yeah, it's a fantastic figure. But with the exception of him, they've all just been repaints. They've all just been Gung Ho had the new vest, new head, new tattoo.
Yeah.
So there was new weapons. So he was a pretty good one. Baroness was really just a redeco.
Storm Shadow comes with more hands.
Yeah, but
I know how you feel about extra hands.
Well, it's not. Look, I like them. If you get them, great. I don't get too hung up on hands. I do like that he has bare hands versus the gloved hands, but it's not enough for me to buy another Storm Shadow.
No, me neither. And it's got that weird printing on the eyes that the last wave did that turned me off right away. Like I started seeing them pop up like on the local groups, here locally. And I just don't have the desire. Like I already have the 2 Zartans. I'm happy with the Storm Shadow we got, and seeing that eye printing on the retro carded one just totally turns me off of it, and I hope they stay away from it. Well, when you get the Outbacks beside each other, man, the other one just looks better. The eyes are better. Everything is better, man.
Yep, 100%. And I was so disappointed. Outback and Falcon were 2 of my favorite characters, 2 of my favorite figures as a kid. Like those were, when people talk about like their go-to team, everybody had like 4 or 5 that they would go to. Mine were Snake Eyes, Chuckles, Outback, and Falcon. So, and then more beyond that. But like to get 2 out of those 4 kind of derpy, I was like, oh, man.
I know, man. I could not agree more. Although I am really looking forward to Shipwreck. He is one of my favorites. So, and it looks like the pictures that have showed up online, he actually looks pretty decent. So
yeah, from the sounds of it, that was like a one-wave problem that Hasbro has sort of addressed. The sculpting issues, the paint app issues, the derpy eyes. Like apparently they were able to correct it really quick. It's again, like CoverGirl is a great figure, and even the sculpt is really good, but that face print
is terrible, man.
Is just not. It's just off. Okay, but here's the other weird thing, and I had this conversation with somebody the other day. Every line is going to have a worse figure, and And I don't think there's really any argument that Falcon is the worst figure in the classified line at the moment.
Oh, 100%. Hands down. I don't,
It's just weird that the worst one is like the 60th figure and not like the 7th or something.
Mhm.
You know, like you would think that
Wave
you would
one?
run into problems early, but for whatever reason, however it happened, we got it really late. I still hold out hope that maybe that wave could get like a reprint or like they could do a second batch of it.
Or a retro carded version of Falcon with a new head sculpt, man. Like,
yeah.
The Team America head sculpt is god awful, man. It doesn't matter what light you shine on. It's just a bad sculpt, bad paint.
Yeah.
Woof.
And I mean, look, it's still on my shelf. It'll stay there until we get sort of a better version. But like the torso is glossy, but the arms aren't. And like there's even like weird little nitpick things. And I'm not really a nitpick guy, but that figure just really it is the worst figure in the line. And it's not just the head sculpt.
No, I agree. And that's not nitpicking, man. That's an honest opinion because it's just
objectively there are problems
the
with
board,
that figure.
man.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Scott Baker joined us right at his usual time, 1 hour in. Dom's hanging out now as well. What's going on, everybody? Happy to have everybody here. We're talking about the potential for the Dragonfly to be the HasLab. We're pretty much, we're basically going to wrap up pretty quick here. But yeah, Brick says, if you've got Wild Bill, Spirit, Tollbooth, and Shipwreck, you've basically got the G.I. Joe equivalent of the Village People. I'm here for it. I love all the weird kind of quirky characters. Like Tollbooth came with a hammer and a hard hat. Like it just, there's probably somebody out there that Tollbooth was their favorite figure. Bless their working class heart. I guess I don't know. Brick asked what would you each consider the worst of the line so far? I think
yeah, I think it's apparent.
it's Falcon. He's the worst. He is, like, objectively he's the worst. Paints Toy Samples, movie Storm Shadow is worst for me. Movie Storm Shadow for me in my headcanon is not Storm Shadow. He's just another ninja in sort of an off-white getup, and I actually really like that figure. It's got a couple issues, but I like the figure. I think it's sculpted well. I think it's a cool-looking ninja.
Yeah, I think it is too, and I like the alternative head sculpt because I really like the actor because he's
Andrew
Warrior, which is fantastic. He plays like the Bruce Lee-ish character, and it's not a bad sculpt.
That show is awesome.
It's so good, man. We're getting a final season. It's official. It just hasn't dropped yet.
That's a show where, like, I think word of mouth is what, like, I don't think anybody really watched it.
No, I don't think so.
Nobody was like, day one, I'm into this. That's the one where, like, it picked up steam and people were like, hey, have you watched this show? Like, have you checked the show out? But yeah, Andrew Koji is so good in it.
Yeah, he's
playing a Chinese American, although he's of Japanese ancestry. I always find that interesting, but
well, if you watch Yellowstone, Casey's wife is not indigenous either. She's actually from Japanese descent.
My wife is half Japanese, and when I met her, I thought she was native. I didn't believe her when she said she was half Japanese. Paints Toy Samples, Falcon close second, but I swapped his head, so it's okay. And the balance with the backpack is awful. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. That backpack his original backpack is so cool, and that one's just ugly. Brick said, I thought you said Falcon wasn't the worst. Misheard. No.
Oh,
without
no,
a doubt. Yeah. It is the worst figure in the line.
Hands down, man. Pretty much top to bottom. You can put another head sculpt on him, but you're still just dressing up a turd, man.
Yeah, and that's what I was alluding to, right? With the glossy parts versus non-glossy part. Like it just across the board, there's just issues with that figure that it doesn't feel up. It doesn't feel up to the standard that I
Yeah.
think most GI Joe classified figures are at, which is again maybe why I kind of let it slide a little bit, because like I said, one bad apple doesn't spoil the bunch. You're gonna have a worse figure,
Yeah.
and that's it. It's just they've made so many good ones. If we get another full wave of duds, then I think a lot of people are gonna be like, "What's going on here?" But a
Oh,
one and done,
absolutely.
I'll give them a little bit of a break. I'll give them a little bit of a pass on.
And I feel like they kind of hit the bar running already pretty high, and
Mm-hmm.
they went back and fixed a lot of the complaints we had about
Mm-hmm.
weapons, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and like paint colors, and they've gone back to the more traditional versions, but
Mm-hmm.
updated, which is what a lot of people were complaining about. I was really happy with the first wave. I love that Duke, man.
Yeah,
Like
me too.
I have 3 versions of him now because I got the Tiger Force too. And
Mm-hmm.
I think he's like I think Duke's a great figure, man. I love him.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. I think that's I think that figure got a lot of like negative press from the very vocal minority, and I think a lot of people kind of are ashamed to like people think it's like a guilty pleasure to like that Duke, but
Yeah.
everybody that likes it absolutely loves it. Like it's not a what is this? I don't know what that user's saying, so I'm just gonna block them.
Did somebody
Anyway, moving on.
take over their keyboard?
I don't think so. I think I've seen that name before and didn't do anything about it last time. But anyway, Brick something said Falcon reminds me of Crispin Glover in Back to the Future. Yeah, a little bit. I've seen people say that.
Back to
I
the
don't collect
Future Part
classified, but
2.
as a Joe fan from childhood, I've been pretty impressed by the line. Yeah, and that's the thing. It is. I don't think it's just my opinion. I think a few people have basically said that the classified line is probably the best line that Hasbro is putting out right now.
I absolutely, man.
Consistently, right? There's duds. Yeah. That line, that wave was pretty bad. But out of
Figures,
60 figures, that's pretty good.
The engineering with their, a lot of the engineering that they did with their articulation is starting to bleed into the other lines. Hopefully Black Series one day. I don't know.
I don't know this to be true, but I heard this from somebody that I trust would know something like this. They basically said that Lucasfilm told them that single jointed elbows was what they were allowed to do, which is like bonkers to me. But maybe they have an agreement with some other line that they have to throttle that back a little bit or something.
Which is carried over to their indie figures, which is kind of disappointing because.
Well, and that's what led credence to when I heard that. They were like, and they basically said, which is more or less confirmed in the indie line because it's Lucasfilm as well, that has not great articulation, and Hasbro has the ability to put that articulation in. Like that wouldn't be a problem for them at all.
Like I'm not in love with that line. I did grab indie and I grabbed Thought. Or yeah, because I loved that character anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I figured I could fit him in with other lines.
Yeah.
But when I wanted, like, even as a kid, I always just wanted a really cool, like, 6-inch indie figure. And so I grabbed him. It's pretty disappointing, man. Like, I'm happy to have him for now. You know what I mean? But it's not great. The gun's flimsy and really tiny. There's no I
do want Short Round.
I do too.
I don't even want Indy. I just want Short Round because he's Short Round. That's an awesome character with like a great name. And Temple of Doom. I just realized Temple of Doom is my favorite indie movie, and Return of the Jedi is my favorite Star Wars movie. I'm definitely in a minority when you sort of cross over those two, that Venn diagram.
With indie, you're not alone, man. Temple of Doom's my favorite
It's so
Empire.
It's so fun.
Empire. It's because it's darker than the other ones too, man. You know,
yes,
it feels
yes.
much darker. Like I just went through and watched the first 3 recently with the wife because she never saw them, and it's yeah. Even the second one was a bit heavy for her. Just kind of dealing with child slavery, and it's just there's
Human
a lot going on
sacrifice.
in there, man. Yeah, human sacrifices. It's dark.
There's darkness in all of them. You know, like when they crack open the Ark. I mean, it's pretty wild when everybody's faces start melting and stuff. But it's momentary and it's at the end.
Yeah, it's still a fun adventure. You know what I mean? That you could, and thinking like watching it now, man. It's like I saw this when I was a kid. Like this was just like, let's go to the movies.
They're designed for kids. They were intended for kids. That's why. And so was Temple of Doom.
Yeah,
like it's crazy. Different times, man. Different times. Paints toy samples. Just break out the matte Mod Podge, dunk them in. No more glossy. I haven't gotten around to it yet, but I do have from Mr. Hobby. I do have like a matte spray that I'm probably gonna hit him with. I just haven't gotten around to it because I just have other. It's not. I don't care that much, I guess, is what it comes down to. Which is why I say like it feels like nitpicks because he's still on my shelf, and I still think I'm still happy to have a Falcon figure in my collection. It's just not as good as I had hoped it would be. But.
Yeah, and I want to challenge Brick to grab a classified figure and see if he can stop at one, and not Falcon.
I think he buys them for his brother or something like that. Like I think he's seen them, so that's so I think he's had them in hand and played with them. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got. Oh, there you go.
Oh, okay.
Yes, 2 Destros.
Like first one or one regular and one retro or 2 retros. I don't know. He's a pretty cool figure either way.
Yeah, and a movie Baroness. So there you go. He's got a couple. Brick is very much a curator. He'll buy. He's like the opposite of me. He doesn't necessarily go deep on a line. He gets like cool figures. Like all those ones that I listed and said I'm not getting any of these because they're kind of one-offs and I wouldn't know where to put them. He's getting all of those.
Yeah, and I've seen some of his reviews, so that makes sense.
Yeah,
he is. Yeah.
All right, that's pretty much all I got. I really hope it is the Dragonfly. I really hope it comes with Wild Bill and like one other figure. I think the stretch goals will be different loadouts.
Yeah.
So like a different chin gun, different configurations and stuff like that. I think we'll get 2, likely even 3 figures, if it hits all the stretch goals. But I think again, just like the his tag, they'll probably err on the side of like loadouts and sort of different things that will go with the Dragonfly itself, which I think is smart because I think people don't like that, you'd have to pay $300 to get a named figure. And I to some extent like agree with that, right? As much as I say like we don't need any of this. So like if you don't get one, it's not the end of the world. But say Airborne was your absolute favorite figure. If the only way you can get it is with a Dragonfly, that's a bit of a pain in the butt. That being said, as somebody that let's not kid ourselves, as somebody that's probably going to buy 2, I would probably be selling off the extra named figures. So I don't think I'll be the only one. I think that'll be the way that anybody that's not backing the Dragonfly will have access to these figures.
Now, because nothing's been confirmed yet. Now, what if one of the stretch goals is a loadout that's carried by the tow hook?
Dope.
Right?
I mean, that's the kind of thing that I think like would really say, like, look, things that I would love to see with the Dragonfly, a landing pad.
Yeah.
Some sort of crate that's empty that you can like put stuff in.
Yep, put weapons or whatever in, yeah.
like build it out almost like a playset, right? Like where you get the vehicle, but the unlock, the stretch goals are. I said we'll wrap it up, and now we're like right back in it.
Sorry, dude. I was just looking at the tow hook, and I'm like, man, what if we get something cool that hooks onto?
But like if the offering is the vehicle, right? And I would say this too. Like if they offer the one of the things that I think, you know, the Engine of Vengeance did wrong when we were talking about stretch goals and like, you know, the offering versus the stretch goals. I think if you offer Wild Bill with the Dragonfly, the first stretch goal has to be the second figure, or include 2 figures with the Dragonfly. Like just kind of get that part of it out of the way really quick and really early, so that there's no like, oh, just wait, you know, the last stretch goal is going to be like the most desirable item.
Or airborne or whatever. Yeah, no, I hear you.
I would also love to see like all the stretch goals laid out right from the start, or at the very least like the first 2 stretch goals, right? Like, oh, we got to sell 8,000 units to fund it. At 10,000 you get this, at 12,000 you get this. We will like have Mattel. 2 additional fund goals after that.
Like Mattel does when they were listing stuff, they pretty much list off all the stretch goals right away, right?
That's how most people do it on Kickstarter, or at very least kind of like give you an idea of what they have in mind for stretch goals. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you can do a mix. I don't need all of them mapped out, because I do like the idea that they could have some flexibility, but I do want there to be something for people to kind of hope for, if that makes sense. Like, yeah. I don't think HasLab has gotten a HasLab correct yet in that respect, where they haven't yet been able to do like an early bird and then sort of continue the momentum. Like the early birds tend to like fund early and then it kind of dies, and then you get a little bit at the end of the thing. But I mean, I think having the stretch goals, and give people like the his tank is a good example because it was an anomaly. So it's not a good example, but it's a relevant example because it was an anomaly. It hit that early bird in like 6 hours or something. And so they were like scrambling to like, oh, well, we don't have, you know, we don't have the digital renders available for the first stretch goal. So like people were just waiting, like, well, what are the stretch goals? You know, should I get another one? What am I going to get? And so it was too slow in a weird way. And I think it just kind of killed it. Whereas
we were just really hungry for vehicles, man, something other than a bike.
I still maintain that the offering at the base price, like the base offering, I think was worth it. I think everything above and beyond to me was bonus.
Extra fluff. I mean, I think it's great extra fluff. Don't get me wrong, but it was they spoke to me and they gave me what I wanted right out the gate.
Absolutely, and I think with the Dragonfly too, it has that potential, right? Like the Dragonfly, if it's priced correctly, could do kind of a similar thing that the his tank did. Now, I'm not saying it will, but I am curious to see price point wise if they can get the price point right and the offering. All right, so let's get back. We were talking about stretch goals. Let's talk base. No, not at all. I sidetracked myself. Base offering, I think basically what you see on the package there. You know, from the vintage one, you get the helicopter with the loadout, the sort of traditional loadout. Now, I hope that it's sort of an updated thing. Like, I think it looks good like this, but I hope they make it a little more angular, you know, a little more modern, update some of the stuff. Wild Bill for sure has to be in the base offering. The second figure, like I said, stretch goal 1 or at the very worst 2. But I'm okay if it doesn't have 2 figures in the base offering. I really want it to have the grappling hook. I really wonder about the rotors. Will it be a thumb button rotor, or will that be like
battery powered?
That's what I'm wondering, right? Will a button turn it on? And then you can swoosh it around, in the air with the rotors going, because that's one of the coolest things about the dragonfly, is that you can swoop it around in the air with the rotors spinning.
Yeah.
Mine still works. So I still swoosh mine around because it's literally so much fun to do with that toy. And then stretch goals. I would love to see like a helipad. I would love to see something that it can pick up with the hook.
Yeah.
And then different loadouts, right? Like you could maybe do like a traditional loadout and a more modern loadout. Like I said, alternate chin gun, alternate. I don't know. I mean, maybe you could convert it somehow from a helicopter to a plane. Maybe you could clip wings on where those little wings are and kind of make it almost two different vehicles. That's way out there. I don't think they'll do that. What are your thoughts on that? I don't think we'll see Chuckles in this. I'll be honest. I don't think we would see Chuckles.
I really hope not.
But if we did, if he was like the last stretch goal, I would be okay with something like that. If it was like a variant, because we know we're getting Chuckles.
Yeah.
But I would really want them to say, like, in the same way that they did that retro Mickey Mouse Cobra Commander, if they did something like that, right, where it was a deco of a figure that either we already have or that we know we will get, because it's an alternate, like maybe a Night Force figure, like they did in the Sky Striker. They did the Night Force Ripcord.
Okay. Yeah.
So like something like that, where we could see Ripcord in the standard, but we could see the Night Force Ripcord, as a stretch goal. I think something like that would kind of appease the people that are anti-named figures in a HasLab project.
Do you think we'll see a redeco of the original Cobra Commander without like the Mickey Mouse?
I think it's almost guaranteed.
Yeah.
I think we'll see like just the standard Tampo in a retro carded figure.
Okay.
Because I don't know what else they would use that figure for.
No, that's fair. Yeah.
And I don't think there's any way that as a stretch goal you would have a figure as a stretch goal and then never use that mold ever again. Paints Toy Sample says Doc, Airborne, and Crazy Legs would be good choices. I absolutely agree. I think those would all work really well. If you did Doc too, it'd be really cool if you could have his like his medical cot, and you could make it in a way that like it could attach or get picked up by the hook or something like that.
Yeah.
Alvaro says I had a knockoff version of the Dragonfly and it rocked the plastic. It was good. The only difference was no figures and no decals, but it was awesome. Yes, that mold got used by a couple different toy lines, I think. And I've got what's going on here? My oh my, hold on. Somebody's dropping in right at the last minute, and I've blocked off his face. Ken, what's going on, buddy?
Hi, Ken.
Sorry to crash the party late.
No problem, man.
Honestly, Adam, I was just gonna blow off your message, and I'm like, well, I really like that AI Collectibles guy, so I guess I'll tolerate Adam just to talk to the other dude. So I decided to do that instead. You've invited me on a few times, and I'm usually out grocery shopping at this hour. Mm-hmm. And then I got back on time, and I said, well, it would be a really cheeky thing to drop in the last 5 minutes. But at the same time, you've been on my channel like 10 times. I've declined like 9 invites to yours, and I'm like, I'm not gonna go 10 for 10. So I'm gonna say this one counts, even though it's like gate crashing at the end. So
it counts.
It
totally
counts.
And I think you're right on time. We're just talking about the sort of the rumor at this point that the HasLab for G.I. Joe Classified will be the Dragonfly. Ken, thoughts, first impressions? What do you think, we'll get as the base? What would you like as a stretch goal?
Ooh, okay. I'd like the base as the Dragonfly, and the stretch goal, you got a sticker sheet that turns it into the Tigerfly from Tiger Force. How about that?
So not like color change, but like the deck, just the decals. You could just a green tiger.
I actually literally just found a few parts for the tiger fly while sifting through my garage. So that happened to be fresh in my mind. So when you said base and stretch, I just figured I'd throw in that cheeky response. Honestly, the stretch, if it's anything like the hiss, is going to be more figures, right? So I just really hope it's not something like Wild Bill and then Airborne is the stretch or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Just really hope it's not something like that. That it's like a generic pilot or something like that as a stretch goal, right? And hopefully the price is no higher than the hiss, right?
Yeah. I mean that's, because I mean GI Joe by and large doesn't have unnamed characters, right? So that's why this is a little bit tougher, because you put a figure in there, it's probably going to have to be a named figure. So
okay.
I would think.
Yeah, got me thinking, right? Because I don't know. Maybe it's just because this is here and it's technically an unnamed figure, and I didn't have anything else to decorate in the background. So like, you can have like the '60s action pilot. I don't know, and then do it in the, I don't know, do it in the rear seat. Just thinking.
Well, actually, you know what? I just thought of something. Inspired by your little green action man there, as well as Armbruster in the Sky Striker. What if we got a new named character? What if they were like, hey, you're not missing out on anything if you don't get this, but here's a character that you don't have a nostalgic attachment to. We're just gonna do a pilot, and here's his name. You know what I mean? Okay.
So do it like the Rio for the Sky Striker. The thing is, the decal sheet the decal sheet actually had the W. Ruthel name on there. So he was like 99% new other than a name. So not 100% sure. Now, who piloted this thing in the in Tiger Force? It was not Sky Striker, right? I don't know who piloted him in Tiger Force. So you could always make that.
Did we not get a Tiger Force Wild Bill?
No, we didn't. So that's why I'm wondering if this one came with a pilot or not. And if so, that would be, like you could do that one, but not in Tiger Force colors, maybe.
That's a good call. That's a good call. I could see that for sure.
Yeah. I still say go for the '60s action pilot, but I'm literally going through Daryl DePriest's book from the '60s and '70s Joe, so I'm a little bit biased right now. Right. So.
Oz says stretch goal, side skirts, and canopy.
Yeah, and I haven't said hi to the chat yet. Oz, Allison, Alberto, Pains, Dom. I see all you folks in there. So, Enu Tabby, Brick,
actually,
MBA.
Let me do this because this picture is static and it's not doing us any favors. Dom says stretch goal, Cobra anti-air missile launcher. Ooh. So we could we see like a stretch goal where it's like a Cobra sort of trooper of some sort with like some anti-aircraft thing. I could see it.
So an anti-missile launcher, and then that's one stretch goal. And then if that's the only thing that unlocks, then you put one of your generic Cobra infantry with it. If not, you can release you can use the infantry buck with some new web gear and have it like the anti-air specialist or something like that, and it just has like different colored web gear and maybe a different helmet or something, but it uses the infantry buck or something along those lines. So yes. Anyway,
it's all speculation. I mean, it could be the bridge layer. We could all end up being completely wrong and wasting all our time.
Yeah, totally. Anyway, cool.
Anything else? You guys have got anything else that you wanted to chat about? Ken, any? Do you want to bring up any random topics?
I've heard this is a no wrestling channel. So the first,
it's not no wrestling. I wouldn't have anything to say.
Because my first analogy, I don't know how big a fan. AI, your name's Ben, right? Or is it a different name?
No, it's Aaron.
Aaron, sorry. See, you see how bad I am? You see how bad I am with what do you call it? With names. I mixed up two names right off the bat. So I'm off to a great start. The analogy I was going to give is this is like gate crashing at the end is like cashing in your money at the
money in the bank.
Money in the bank. Do the Seth Rollins thing at the end of WrestleMania. You're not advertised, but you just cash in and you steal the title.
And you win the title.
To close off the show. Yeah,
I'm
sorry
with
about
you,
that, Aaron.
Ben. I'm with you, bud.
Oh, Tiger Force Recondo. Okay, so we've already got that. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say that one's already been done.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think it's gonna be that. I think we can probably scratch that off the list. Dom says Black Viper. That would be a good one. You could. I mean, there's a lot. Like Cobra has so many troopers, and if you pick one of the kind of random ones, I think you could probably make them with mostly existing parts, like you said, web gear and a new helmet or something like that. I think that's really all you would necessarily need.
Yeah, I mean, we all want new tooling, but we can't expect it at this point. So
no. And then it's sort of like, again, the argument of like a troop builder in a HasLab, but you could just do it a colorway that's exclusive to the HasLab and say, you know, there may be another version of this.
The HIS put troop builders in their HasLab, right? So it's kind of the precedent was set, good or bad, it was set, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it went off like gangbusters, regardless, right? So,
well, that's just it. Is that you know, it was troop builders with the HIS, with the exception of Cobra Commander, and I think by and large people were very happy with what the offering was.
Yeah.
If you don't have a HIS, having a HIS driver is like one of those things that you're kind of like, what am I going to do with a HIS driver if I don't have a HIS? Although, that being said, I know that there's a lot of people that are going to try to get HIS drivers that didn't get the HasLab because they don't have the space, or, you know, they didn't want to spend, you know, the money to get the whole thing. They just want the figures. I guess it's all,
we're
all
getting
relevant.
Copperhead without the...
you know what? I passed on Copperhead.
Did you?
Ooh.
What? He looks great. You had some reservation when we talked about him when they were showing up as well. I don't know. He's got like a cool Bane kind of feel to him. I don't know, man. I think he's a great looking figure.
Here's my opinion. If they did a water moccasin and sort of re-released that figure, I'd buy it in a heartbeat. But I never had any connection to that figure as a kid. Like I didn't have the water moccasin or the figure, obviously, as a kid, and so I didn't really need it as much now. That was the first figure that, like, a standard figure that I passed on. But to me, he's also just kind of a poor man's Crocmaster.
Hot take.
It is a hot take, isn't it?
That's what people come to my channel for, is my hot take.
My fun school Crocmaster is my poor man's Crocmaster. So that's how I go. That's how I go about.
Man, some of those fun school decos are so good, though.
They are.
They're
They've aged well, even if they didn't hit with us back in the late 90s there.
Yep. Oz kind of agrees with me. Just kind of feels like Crocmaster's inbred swampy cousin without a moccasin.
Who doesn't need an inbred swampy cousin?
See, Oz met someone famous yesterday, so you know.
He did. Oz met Pixel Dan yesterday.
He did.
Oz also said they did put troop builders with the HIS, but they were all HIS related, so it makes sense. Yeah. All right. Last thing before we shut her down. I just want to share this and shout out a few other channels, because this is something that I keep wanting to do and I keep forgetting to do. I've done it a couple times before. If you haven't already, go to my channel, hit the little channels button, and just go subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to these channels, just hit the button. Just go and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. It helps the creators. It helps everybody out. They would definitely appreciate it. Toy Domination is in the chat right now. He is at 972 subscribers. So close to 1,000. Go over and subscribe to that channel. Legends of Grayskull podcast just did their 100th episode 3 times or something. 971 right there with Dom. Just go over and subscribe to that. You know, go support more channels. Like I said, doesn't cost you anything, and a little goes a long way when it comes to that type of thing. Maybe you'll find creators that you didn't know about that you'll absolutely love their channels. Maybe not. Maybe you'll watch 5 minutes and it won't be for you. But hey, just subscribe. Like I said, it doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to watch their videos. That's the hardest part is just getting those numbers, getting some subscriptions.
And if you gate crash the same channel often enough, people will think you're just part of that channel. I went to a toy show one time and somebody recognized me as Ken from Mega J Retro. I was like, I don't know if it's a compliment or not. Like, you get recognized, but you didn't get recognized for your main thing. I'm like, all right, all right, that's cool. So, anyway.
That's funny. It's funny because Ken, you and I talk about this all the time. And AI, it's weird. I talk to you, AI, about channels that I don't talk to Ken about, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many good channels out there, and so many of the channels that I absolutely love, I kind of just stumbled upon because either somebody else mentioned them, or I was like, hey, what are you up to? And they're like, oh, I'm just watching this video right now. I was like, I'll go check it out.
And like we discussed, the more you get into content creating, the less time you have for other things, man. And it's like you want to support everybody, but really at the end of the day, when you're in the middle of making your own stuff, there's only so much time in the day, right? So
I work I work at a desk most of the time. And when I'm sitting at my desk, like especially through the winter months where I'm not as busy at work, I watch a ton of videos just as like on I have multiple screens, and so I'll just have YouTube videos on one screen and I'll just watch them. And I've discovered some really, really great channels that way. Several of which are on that page. So go check them out and subscribe. Payne's Toy Samples. Thank you for reminding me, because I always forget to do things like this, talk about other things that I'm doing. Payne's Toy Sample says, don't forget to tell the folks you'll be on Toy Therapy Couch Friday. So this coming Friday, I will be joining Payne's Toy Samples on his channel Friday evening. So come check that out. Come hang out. It should be an interesting one. Should be a fun one. It'll either be really interesting or really boring. I was having a conversation. Most people that know me know that I'm not this high energy all the time. So tune in. I may be normal energy me, just to see how that goes over. It may turn out that this is just how I am anyway.
That's all of us. You know, we put our best face forward, and when someone says you can let your hair down, you just do so. I once showed up on Oz's channel laying on the floor with my phone like this, and people are like, why are you laying down on the carpet? I'm like, because I know Oz doesn't care.
Fair enough. So that's what I'm doing Friday. And then, as I mentioned, June 6th, if you're in the Cabal Mythic Legions Facebook group, I will be doing the Legion's Lair with Michael Casper and Brad Jones. June 6th. Did I already say June 6th? Anyway, June 6th. What's the date? What's the date next Friday? 28th, I think.
No,
anyway, next Friday, Payne's Toy Samples. Tune in. It'll be fun.
Yeah, 26th, something like that. Anyway.
We'll be talking toys. We'll be opening toys. It'll be a little bit more it's less news and it's more like intimate conversation, if that makes sense. So I'm looking forward to it. We'll see if anybody else is. That's all I got.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sweet.
But definitely a fun video. Ken, thanks for jumping on right at the last minute there.
Nice to meet you.
I mean, you've been on for 20 minutes.
Yeah, I see Aaron now. I know what the A stands for. In my comment section and sometimes on my Instagram every now and then. So I'm like, yeah, I'll go make the connection, right? And Adam, I pretty much call you to tell you what I had for breakfast, even if I get it wrong. So,
And I'm okay with that.
Like, yeah. I'll be like, I had scrambled eggs, and the wife will be like, they were poached, but whatever, right? Right.
You'll be like, I didn't make them. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just consumed them.
Ken, where can people find you if they want more Ken content?
Apparently on Mega J Retro. Or Ostradamus Toys. You can find me on Toy Connections, usually babbling about something G.I. Joe or Transformer related, or occasionally Motu, and talking more wrestling than I have lung capacity for. Otherwise, yeah, just look for some of these fine folks to be on there. I'm sure Aaron will be on there at some point in time, and I'll get his name right next time. And I'm sure Adam will be on there, and I'll just get his name wrong and give him some inglorious introduction. Be like, and here's some dude, and Adam shows up. I'm like, oh, cool, you made it. Bathroom break for Ken as usual.
Yeah,
you go talk. Sneaking some grocery shopping on my way back while Adam talks for me.
Yeah. Oh, Ken's been gone for 17 minutes. Should somebody call the police?
Go check on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody hands you a milk carton with my face on it. It's like, well, that was quick. That was quick. Anyway. So.
And AI, where can people check you out?
You check me out on YouTube. My content's kind of slowed down a bit, but I'm still putting out reviews, and I've really gotten into taking photography. So a lot of toy photography on Instagram as well. So yeah, check me out.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, that's all I got. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you everybody in the comments watching live. If you're catching this on replay, shame on you for not being here. But we will forgive you this once. Hopefully you can tune in next time. Scott Baker, you need to get your priorities right. You need to get here on time, my friend. I'm just giving you a hard time. Scott's a great dude. We chat regularly, so I'm sure he won't be offended by that. Stay tuned. Brick Something and I have recorded our second episode of AWOK Talk, so that will be coming out very, very soon. We had a ton of fun making it, and man, those videos are so much fun, and we're so into AWOK right now, so stay tuned for that. But until next time, thank you guys, and bye-bye.